FNAF 3 came out 11 years ago, and a lot of people have mixed feelings of FNAF 3, but during the time before its release, it was definitely one of the most hyped FNAF games out there. So today I'm going to be talking about how good FNAF 3 really is, and talk about the history of it, talk about the gameplay, and FNAF 3 is one of those games that just does not get enough appreciation. So let's start the video. Like I mentioned earlier, FNAF 3 came out all the way back in 2015. And so, what is the game about? So you are a night guard at Fazbear Frights, a horror-themed attraction based on the tragedies of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And it happens 30 years after the closures of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now, we don't know which one, but it's just 30 years after. Like I mentioned earlier, you're a night guard, and you have to survive 5 nights with a creature inside the pizzeria / horror attraction named Springtrap. And through the mini games at each night, we learn who Springtrap is, which is just a purple guy that got spring locked into the suit. So let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. So it's pretty simple. So you have 2 monitors, one on your right and one on your left. The one on your right is the camera, and you can play the audio, you can go through the different cameras, and then there's a vent where you can seal one vent only. And then on your left is your maintenance panel where there's ventilation, there's video, and then there's audio. And if any of those go down, you have to reboot them. If more than one goes down, you can reboot all. Now, what is the story of FNAF 3? Well, the story goes is that you're the night guard, but then after each night, you learn what happens to the original animatronics, and then the animatronic souls, the kids that were stuck in those animatronics, come back and try to haunt William Afton. William Afton gets spring-locked, and that's how Springtrap is born. And we also learned through the phone calls how the spring locks work, and how they're both animatronic and suit. Now, what do I think about the game? I think the game is, first of all, I love the green aspect of it. I love the green environment of the whole game. It kind of gives me Fallout 3 vibes, and it makes it difficult for you to find Springtrap since it blends in with the environment. And same thing with the Phantoms, which I gotta mention as well. So there's a lot of Phantoms. There's Phantom Freddy, Chica, Balloon Boy, Foxy, and the Puppet. And there's Phantom Mango. And all those Phantoms cause their own problems, and there's different ways of countering each one. So Phantom Freddy is, he'll walk across the office window, and your goal is to flip up either the maintenance panel or the camera panel while he's walking. If he walks past the window fully, you completely counter him. Phantom Foxy appears in your office. The only way you can counter him is by looking at the camera, pulling it up, and pulling it back down and just going back. And if he's gone, you have countered him. Chica appears on the arcade machine, and if you see her on an arcade machine, flip away as soon as you can. If you're too slow, then she'll jump scare you. Phantom Puppet is similar, but not on an arcade machine. She'll appear in the hall, and if you don't flip away at the right time, she will actually just block you from using your cameras. Phantom Blue Boy can appear only in cameras, and he can appear anywhere. All you have to do is just flip away your camera, or click to another different camera which is not on in order to counter him. And then there's Phantom Mango, who appears, and if you don't flip away at the right time, she'll cause audio errors. And so Springtrap is he can appear anywhere on the map. He can go anywhere on the map. He can go through the vents, and he can go through the cameras to use the audio to distract him from going to the different locations. And like I mentioned earlier, the green environment helps him blend in with the surroundings, so it makes it more difficult to find them. Same thing with the Phantoms, they're also pretty green. And so this gameplay of playing, hide and seek with Springtrap is actually a really cool idea. I really like this idea a lot. And it also explains in the phone calls that Springtrap is not purposely going to use audio. It's the suit that's forcing him to go to those areas. Springtrap knows where you are, but he cannot do anything because he's stuck in a suit that won't allow him to go to different locations to get to your office, which is pretty crazy to think about, that he doesn't have a choice in any of this. I want to talk about Springtrap just a little bit since we're talking about it, because Springtrap, in my opinion, has to be one of the most best, well-designed characters in all of the series. He's more iconic than Freddy Fazbear himself, and a very iconic slasher villain. And so when you take a look at him, you can see the organs, the veins, the the body of a man that once was alive, now a zombie. It's honestly really terrifying to think about, especially if you get those rare screens where you see him pulling up the mask to reveal his head. And I think that's just great. I think I love the horror about that. Now, why don't people like this game? Well, first of all, people don't think this game is scary, and I agree. I don't think FNAF 3 is scary at all. I don't think the jump scares are scary. I don't think the phantom animatronics themselves are scary. I only think Springtrap has like that horrifying design. I don't think the environment is terrifying at all. The ambience is pretty good. It really does bring the whole world together. But other than that, you know, Springtrap himself being the only scary thing in that game can deter a lot of people away from, you know, playing the game. Why would I play this game if it's not scary? If you compare that to FNAF 1 or, you know, FNAF 4 that would come later, even though we didn't know about it at the time, you know, it's not scary at all. But I think what it lacks in horror, it lacks an environment, or builds an environment, and, you know, builds when it comes to the lore as well. Because I think this game has some pretty great lore. Through the mini games, you know, the Happiest Day where we free the souls, and Springtrap and how he was, you know, born or created, you know, and then we get to finally get a closure on the killer of what happened to William Afton. And so, and especially the ending as well, when we learn that he didn't really die in the fire, because what happened is if you brighten up the newspaper at the end of FNAF 3, where it says it burns down, you actually see Springtrap in the background, and his sister location proves that, you know, he survived Fazbear Frights being burnt down. I think what FNAF 3 does well, and it makes you, you know, panic. Imagine, you know, your cameras went down or your audio goes down and you have to quickly reboot and it's going super slow and you start wondering like, where's Springtrap? Where is he? What's going on? Where are the phantoms at? And then you start panicking and making stupid mistakes because you're panicking, and, you know, that panic can cause a lot of problems and can actually ruin your night. And I think that's the one thing the game is really good at, making you panic. And I think FNAF 2 does something similar, where it makes you panic, where you have to deal with all the animatronics. FNAF 3 does it a little better without overwhelming you with all the animatronics. Now that you know the FNAF 3 movie is coming out soon, we gotta kind of speculate, are they gonna do it similar to the game? I really hope so, because honestly, you know, obviously with their own twist, because the pizzeria is different from the first game, but I hope they do FNAF 3 similar to the game, because I think that's what the game does right, the environment and the characters. But I do want them to add a little more horror to it, because like I said earlier, you know, FNAF 3 isn't really scary, but it does give us some great lore. It does a great job with story, with the secret minigames. I prefer the secret minigames in FNAF 3 than FNAF 2, where you die and you have a chance of getting them. That gives you some very important lore. I like in FNAF 3 you have to actually find it yourself, even though it's a lot more difficult because you have to do all these secrets just to find it. I really do like the way they convey the lore through the minigames, and I think some of the minigame music's pretty horrifying, and, you know, it has that uncanny valley to it as well. And I could say that for Fazbear Frights, but remember, Fazbear Frights is supposed to be a horror attraction, so obviously making it terrifying makes sense when it comes to building the environments. If you weren't around in 2015, FNAF 3 was one of the most hyped games out there. Let me tell you, everyone was theorizing that it was going to be a free roam game, that it was going to be the best FNAF game out there. And, you know, a lot of people had their hopes up. And then the demo kit for FNAF 3 came out, which was just a troll game. It was just one of Scott's old games with the Freddy theme to it. And then FNAF 3 came out, and people were speculating, you know, this Springtrap guy, you know, at the time we didn't know it was Springtrap. We didn't even know Purple Guy's real name until the FNAF novels, but everyone was talking about, you know, it's gonna be some hybrid. That's what he was called at first, like a hybrid animatronic. Looking back at FNAF 3, I think it does a lot of things right, and I think we were too harsh on the game, to be honest with you, because I think it does a lot of things right, but it just fails in the horror, which I can say for FNAF 2 as well. I don't think FNAF 2 is horrifying, but the horror wasn't there, and I think why people don't like the game as much, or they don't like how it's a little too confusing, because it can be a little confusing sometimes, you know, audio vents and, you know, the secret little tactics. Like, for example, if your vent goes down, Springtrap becomes more aggressive. So these secrets that, you know, you can only learn by playing the game for so long kind of deters people from playing it as well. But in my opinion, FNAF 3 has to be one of the most underrated FNAF games out there, because not only does it do a great job with characters and lore and the environment, but in my opinion, I think it has brought us one of the best characters in all of FNAF, which is Springtrap with the best design out there. Compare FNAF 3 to the other games, it kind of stands out in its own way, because yes, it has that pizzeria feel that we have to it, but it does its own thing as well. In addition, FNAF 3 is still kind of unsolved. We don't know when FNAF 3 takes place, and we're still trying to figure out a lot of the Easter eggs, like why are those different characters in Happiest Day, and we're still trying to figure out everything in FNAF 3. But I think that's the best part about Five Nights at Freddy's, that it's not solvable, and FNAF 3 helps with lore a lot, but it still gives us a lot of questions to ask. Alright guys, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. So I want to quickly apologize for making this video come out a little later, because I wanted to do this video earlier, but school, life got in the way. Now it's spring break and I was able to make this video, but I'm so sorry for the delay. In addition to that, I'm going to read the comments in the next video. If you didn't know, I did a post where I say I will read your comments, answer them in the video. I'll do that in the next video. I'm really sorry. I just had to get something, not really get something out, but I really wanted to make this video because I really wanted to convey how much I love FNAF 3. Started streaming a little more, so again, I'm just so sorry. Been busy with everything, but I was able to get this video out.